welcome to, the sixth year of the podcast.
Welcome
or it's
to,
our fifth.
Whatever.
Or but you could start just doing the usual,
Okay.
thing, and I could say, hey, Alan, do you know what today is?
Okay.
And that would lead into...
And I'll be like, oh.
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I will act it well.
And then I'll say, it is, 5 years ago today.
Hey, welcome back to Even More Mashed Up. We are the pop culture podcast coming to you from Misericordia University, where two professors sit around and talk about all things popular culture. I'm Alan.
And I'm Patrick. And hey, Alan.
Yes.
Do you know what today is?
What? Let me think about it for a minute.
Think
today
about it.
is September 21st. What is today, Patrick?
Today is the 5th anniversary of the podcast's debut online.
You don't say so.
That is correct. 5 years ago today.
That's right.
We recorded the very first episode of Even More Mashed Up.
And I bet we talked about something important.
Very important.
To the pop culture zeitgeist.
Oh, yeah. We were very tuned into the zeitgeist.
So what were we talking about? Because I don't remember.
We were talking about the upcoming season of superhero TV and ranking the shows based on our anticipation.
It was almost as if we wanted this entire endeavor to fail.
Oh, no. It was a quality show.
That's not a good lead. So we talked about Flash. I assume I hated it.
You did, yes.
Did you actually? So you watched it?
I did watch the whole thing, yeah.
So
Wow.
you have finally re-listened to a podcast that we made.
Actually, I think I've listened to that one multiple times.
It only
'cause
took 5 years.
I
140
usually-
podcasts. He's finally listened to one.
Yeah, but see, I watched the Facebook Live, so it didn't actually record on the Podbean counter, so it doesn't really increase our numbers at all.
Unbelievable.
Of course you would.
So I assume I hated. Was that the Baby Barry year?
We hadn't gotten to Baby Barry yet, because there was a moment in it where I thought you were going to
We
bring up
hadn't
Baby
gotten
Barry,
to
and you didn't. I was
Baby
like,
Barry,
okay, that's
yeah.
still coming.
All right.
I think, or my sense of it was that was still coming.
So how did we rank them in the end? I'm just curious, and then we'll actually get on to the business of the podcast.
I say you had the problem is I missed what your number one was. You had Supergirl as 2.
Okay.
I think your Legends was 4.
Really?
Gotham was 6 for both of us.
Well, Gotham was disaster.
Maybe you had Arrow as 1. Maybe Arrow was your 1.
Was that coming off of the Ra's al Ghul season?
No, it was Arrow season 5. It was
the Ra's al Ghul season was so good.
You brought that up.
So good.
Because I believe you
I love that.
I remember you did wax poetic about Melrose Place.
It's the Melrose principle.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you watch that episode and you're like, wow, there's a lot of our shtick in that first episode.
So you feel as if
Nothing has
like
changed
I've
since
continued just doing the same thing.
very
all.
little has changed. Yeah. You were shocked that I was looking forward to Legends of Tomorrow?
Rightly so.
That was pre-Bebo.
Yeah, this was second season.
Bebo
'cause
elevated the hell
I tried
out
to
of that
explain
show,
that I was
man.
excited because they got rid of the Hawk people.
Yeah.
And so that's why they got rid of the part that was the worst part of the show. But no, the best part was you went through and rattled off like all the things that are coming up on Legends of Tomorrow. And like, are you excited for that? Not really. You excited for that? No. And you're like, so basically everything that's new this episode, Patrick, you're not excited about. I'm like, no, but I'm excited about what they got rid of. It was a quality show.
That was 5 years ago. I'd like to think in the intervening years we've grown.
Oh, yeah.
We've matured.
Are there any shows that you look back on going, they were still good shows? Any of the superhero TV shows?
You can find moments where Arrow was good.
Yeah.
You can find moments where Legend was good.
That's it?
You did.
Flash has always been a disaster.
No. You did agree on the show that season 1 of Flash was pretty good.
Did I really?
Yeah, you did.
I've
And
shifted
then
on that.
And basically, it went in the toilet.
I was a
after
fool.
Yeah.
that. But yeah, you did say something about season 1 of Flash being okay.
There's only one thing that can redeem Flash, and you know what it is. Revealing that Barry has been the bad guy all along.
Oh yeah, we talked a lot about that on the episode.
It's the only thing that... So I'm consistent. I'm a man
I think that might even have been
of some moral principle.
that might even have been the origin
Just
of,
a little
of
bit.
Barry is the villain. Barry is the worst of it.
It's a kind of moral principle,
Yeah.
Rich. Oh, Rich is here.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
am.
hey, yeah. Rich is
They
here.
are not talking to a ghost.
Were we ever talking to a ghost?
No. I don't know.
No idea.
I really had no...
But to get back to my point,
Yes.
we've grown.
Which is the only point that matters.
We've matured. You now have a beard.
I do.
So we're clearly different people.
Apparently,
so
Wait, did
apparently
you not
the-
have a beard before?
I did not, because everyone keeps. My sister pointed out how young I look.
looks
which-
literally like he's in 8th grade.
It is. But if
like he stepped right out of 8th grade.
I can't.
Now,
I can't get rid of the beard.
Stepped right
now
out of
because
the.
I will look like a child.
Stepped right out of the 8th grade locker that somebody had stuffed in it.
I think I was wearing this shirt in 8th grade, or one very like it.
Is that when you were in Tom Thumb's Entourage?
That was 5th grade, I think. 5th or 6th grade that was.
I would pay a month's mortgage for tape of that.
I have the tape of it.
Can we watch it?
No, because it's literally a tape of it. I don't have a VCR anymore.
I bet there. Look at the equipment we're surrounded by. There's got to be a VCR here.
Yeah.
So,
but there is. It's Betamax.
Yeah. To get back to my point, we've grown.
Yes.
And we've matured. So I'm sure the topic for today's show will demonstrate that we have grown and matured. And don't continue talking about the same things.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Not just the topic, but the way
we are
in
now
which that we
13
will
minutes
delve
in?
into the topic.
What do you mean the way we delve? Oh, are we 13? No, we're only like 5.5 minutes in.
Oh, that's right. I'm counting the pre-show.
That's right.
The 30-second pre-show.
So yes,
which took
would you
6
like to tell
minutes.
people what we're actually talking about?
No, I thought you would. That was your
okay.
job.
We're talking about Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings.
Indeed.
Woo!
The latest Marvel movie.
So we're talking about a superhero.
We are. But a very different superhero.
Let's keep telling ourselves that. It's a brand new format.
It's totally different. You've never
I have
seen
never
it
seen this
before.
film before.
Yeah, and Rich has actually seen this one.
Yeah, I feel kind of like Rich cheated on me. He went to the movies with somebody else.
Well,
Who
if by
paid your way?
somebody else you mean nobody, and
Wait.
How'd you get in then?
I paid with my own money.
Wow.
Or at least I swiped a card. I assume it had money on it.
You have a movie card?
No, I mean a credit card.
Oh, you're.
Oh, I think you have like the movie pass thing. That lets
So
you go
you
see.
didn't. You didn't really pay for it.
Somebody did.
Someone did.
Well,
The government paid for it.
Not
He'll
until
pay
Rich
for it
actually
when
pays
you
his
know,
credit card
he
bill.
gets his bill in a few months and the interest rate has doubled the cost of the film for
right.
him.
If I just don't open my mail, there's no bill.
That's a strategy.
it is a strategy. That is like Richard Baldovin's life lessons for success.
Life hack. If
Well, it's
you don't
one of
open your mail,
one of his
you
life
can't
lessons,
get bills.
Yes. Number
Oh,
one,
no.
don't open your mail. Number two, go to the movies with someone else. Forget your wallet.
Number 3, if somebody offers you a handful of popcorn,
Eat it all.
Eat the
You kick
whole
all of
bucket.
it, yeah. Again, this is
Rich eating popcorn sounds a little bit like my Richard Nixon with phlebitis.
It
It's, I think.
I feel like this Richards all sound the same to you.
you know,
Oh man, you know how nice is it to be back in the studio?
it is nice to be back in the
It's
studio.
just like it's refreshing.
Because number one, my computer's not
Yeah,
dying
it's
on
nice
me.
to hear Patrick
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
and not have him cut
And
out
not
every
be
other
like
word.
really slow. Yeah, this is much better.
Yes.
I feel like our banter is better when we're face to
Oh,
face.
there's no doubt about it. Via the computer, it's hard to interrupt people in an effective, meaningful way. So now we can interrupt each
So
other.
it
with
is fun to have
impunity.
your family kind of pop in.
As Rich just did me, you know. So just talk right on top of each other.
Yeah, well, we're just excited because he's actually seen what we're talking about today. So.
Notice
Yes.
that Rich brought the drink that's the Mountain Dew energy drink.
No, it's AMP. It's just rebranded.
Amp.
Okay, so but the idea, like if you have a Mountain Dew, you don't need more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just the sound he made when he said AMP.
Amp.
Rich is choking to death on his drink, which is again
His
kind
drink
of
and his
Tic
Skittles
Tacs.
or Tic Tacs or
you're eating Tic Tacs.
yeah.
They're
didn't
2
you hear
calories
the-
each.
Didn't
That-
you hear them pour them out? Because I'm pretty sure our audience did.
No,
That's
I did
how-
it underneath the table so they wouldn't hear me.
I heard it over here.
It's how Rich could afford the movie. He's eaten Tic Tacs ever
Yeah.
since.
Well, I've hacked them before. If you
Tic
don't
Tac,
eat food,
yeah.
you don't need to pay for
Tic Tacs
food.
and Amp.
If you dropped a Tic Tac into your amp, what would happen? Would it be like the Mentos?
Let's not
and
do that
Coke?
in the studio. Let's. I'm just going to suggest.
Probably not.
I feel like if we're going to talk about the movie,
We should
like,
talk about the movie.
I'm waiting for you to say something because there's definitely.
So where would you like to start talking about the movie, Alan?
we could all feel that you want to start somewhere.
You've
No,
started,
I don't have any. I literally have nowhere to start.
You
I will say.
Say the numbers.
just say the numbers. Come on.
What numbers?
You're smiling as you
plain
say that.
innocent. You've got numbers, and there's no way we can do anything.
I don't
but
have
start with
numbers because they've been rebranded. Remember?
Oh, what are they
No,
now?
I don't.
Are
They're
they
fun facts.
Oh,
Life hack number 5.
it kind of makes you miss numbers, actually.
They could be. I could also make them amped facts.
If we only
we get-
once they sponsor us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, would you like to know where the movie is on Rotten Tomatoes?
Fun fact number 1.
I would love to know.
I'm going to say 92, 98.
I'm going to go with 70.
Playing the ballpark.
You roughly. Yeah, approximately.
Did I get it right?
I don't know. You didn't identify critics and audience.
I'm going to go critics a little lower, audience a little higher.
Okay.
As usual.
Wow, shocker. Somehow you nailed that.
Boom.
Really?
I'm getting good at fun facts.
So
I was never
do you
good at
want to
numbers.
guess which MCU films have a higher audience score?
Endgame.
I don't think Endgame does.
Really? You don't? I think Endgame's close to 100 as it can get.
Definitely not Black Widow. God, you have to go back to the old ones. I think none of... Oh, Black Panther.
No.
Thor Ragnarok?
No.
You were, as always, Alan. Your
I
first
talked
instinct
myself
was
out of it.
correct.
Oh.
It's none of them.
This is the highest...
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
I
none
mean, I
of
think
them.
Black Panther's at like a 90.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually, Black Panther's audience has gone down. It's like 79.
Get out of here.
Well, because of like the incel, anti-SJW people.
Yes.
Which it's odd that they didn't do that to this one, but or they were
Clearly
just
they were
completely
busy.
ineffective.
Maybe they're just punched out.
Could be.
Nah.
I feel like they're not, but...
Now, do you
More
want to
fun
guess
facts?
which MCU films have a higher critic score?
Then a 92?
Yes.
I'm going to say Winter Soldier. I'm going to say none of them.
I'm going to go with Endgame again.
Correct. Endgame is one of them.
Thank God you got it right, because I can't take that noise again.
Yeah. I almost didn't want to
And Black
guess.
Panther. Black Panther.
Correct.
Oh, there's another one?
There are 1, 2, 3 more, and one that it's tied with.
Ragnarok.
Correct.
The third Tony Stark? Or the third Iron Man?
No. Don't say that. Now he's going to make the noise.
I will not.
The third Iron Man?
No, I'm just not going to make the noise. It's wrong.
I was so
Because
happy. for
you
a
know I
second.
love the third Iron Man.
I know you do. It's not the third Iron Man. You and I both love
Oh,
the
but
third Iron Man.
well, no, we'll get into that.
So you've got what?
Is it? So it's
Black
not Winter
Panther,
Soldier?
Endgame.
You've got an Endgame, Black Panther, and Ragnarok. There's 2 more that are ahead of it.
Oh, one of them's got to be a stupid Avengers movie. Otherwise, we wouldn't be walking this path.
No,
None
it's
of them
not.
are stupid.
Oh, the Ultron movie was...
Oh yeah.
stupid.
I blinked down.
No,
I blanked that one
I was
out.
gonna do. What was I? There was something I was gonna do. That
We can't help you with this exercise.
Ooh, you know what? Guardians.
it's tied with Guardians 1.
Okay.
Here's a Guardians 2.
Yes.
Oh, it's exactly like Guardians 1.
Yeah. So the other 2,
just
I
like
think
the idea of the
one of the
sequel
other
being
2 will
tied.
not surprise you. One probably will.
Okay. I feel like we have to go deep back in the
Yep.
canon.
Very
Is
deep.
it Iron Man 1?
It's Iron Man 1.
Interesting. And then Spider-Man.
Oh.
Is there a Spider-Man movie? That's...
Yeah, Homecoming, actually.
I did pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you ever
Iron
got
Man 1 though makes sense.
No, I
because-
got off to a rough start there.
Yeah.
That's true. So yeah, those are the ones that are.
But Iron Man 1 makes sense because that was like one of the one of the ones that was like, this is a good superhero movie.
Oh,
And
yeah, I
yet,
think
in
what I-
retrospect, I don't think Iron Man 1 holds up to...
No, not at all.
Really? Iron Man
it's-
1?
It's good, but there have been much better Marvel movies made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still, Iron Man
It's-
1 being the first, I think, and
That's the
being
thing, it's
such
the
a
first
solid
one.
film.
If being the first mattered in terms of quality, I would agree with you. But literally, the
Well, it's like
happenstance
money.
of it
I'm
coming
sorry, how
first-
many times have we talked about our book as the first one to do what we did in the book? As if being first doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
It
I didn't
matters
realize
in
you had an
that
objection
way.
to being first
No.
of things. I guess I'll stop saying that when I'm trying to promote the book.
He's only an objection to being first when he's not first.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
That was well done, Rich.
Rich has understood my
I'm
moral
surprised I got it
compass.
out.
So that's all I've got for number-based fun facts.
Wait, so there's other fun facts.
I do have another fun fact, yes.
Do you want to drop it now, or do you want to hold it?
It's a bit of a continuity nugget, so we might want to wait until.
Oh my God, you and your... now I remember what this podcast is about. Easter eggs and continuity nuggets.
Yes, it's a good continuity nugget.
Okay. So do you want to start, or can I start?
Well, when I asked you if you wanted to start, you reflected it back on me. So would you like to start again?
So you feel like it's my turn?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to just take a moment to reflect on the fact that it's kind of the most obvious thing about this movie. Marvel Disney
Uh-huh.
just made a film
Uh-huh.
that has done exceedingly well at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
None of that's surprising yet.
No.
It's done exceedingly well at the box office.
I'm a little surprised, but...
What, that Disney did
No,
well?
but I mean that Disney and Marvel have done this before.
Oh, yeah.
But they've made a film that's done exceedingly well at the box office that features a Chinese-American protagonist who is clearly the lead, surrounded by an Asian and Asian-American cast, in which the comedic sidekick role is played by an old white guy. I think this is a remarkable thing.
Wait, what?
Are we talking about the reference Iron Man?
You're talking about Tony Slattery as the
Trevor.
Trevor, yeah.
Trevor, yeah.
As we know
sorry,
him.
Trevor Slattery, not
But I
Tony
see him
Slattery.
as kind of the comedic sidekick.
Yeah, yeah.
On the adventure.
At least obviously
they've
near
somehow
the middle
made
part, yeah.
commercially viable and popular the movie that shouldn't be able to be made popular and viable. It stars a Chinese American.
Yeah.
The cast is full of Asian and Asian Americans.
Yeah.
And the comedic sidekick role that has historically been the person of color is now the old white guy.
Well,
And I just thought there was like a little extra nice kick to the fact that
Well,
it was
I mean,
an old
isn't
white
that
guy.
basically what they did with Black Panther? In that Everett Ross's character was basically the white guy sidekick.
Yeah.
In an otherwise, black cast. So.
Yeah. So to me, it's a remarkable thing because
Yeah.
I guess as somebody who researches and writes about Asian American history,
Yeah.
it's a particularly kind of amazing thing. The Washington Post was talking about how little representation Asians and Asian American get in film, and the statistic they published was that
I'm sorry. What are you calling it?
a statistic
Really? Because that sounds awful numbery.
that in 2019, first number, only 7.2% of all speaking characters were Asian in the top 1,300 popular films.
Okay.
So I think this is a pretty remarkable thing, especially if you think about the history involved in it.
Yeah.
It's not just that this movie exists, but that it grew out of a comic book canon that hardly would suggest
Oh, yeah.
that this kind of movie could have been made. Like, I think about the first book to really address race in comic books in a holistic way.
Yes.
All new, all different.
Not that being first matters to you at all.
No, but it is the first. just to be clear.
Not that it matters, but if
all
it
new,
did,
all different.
Yeah.
A History of Race in the American Superhero, available from the University of Texas Press.
Yes.
And at Amazon and
Yes.
other online retailers. It's not important who wrote it, but it's definitely worth buying.
It's just important that they were first.
yes,
But that book clearly demonstrates, I think, how surprising this movie is. If you think about where Asian and Asian American representation was in the early days.
Well, and even if
comic
you think
books.
about Shang-Chi.
Yes,
And
I was
I
going
mean-
to work to Shang-Chi, but we could jump right
Well, I
there.
mean, in terms of that in the comics, his father is literally Fu Manchu, and is steeped in that sort of yellow peril sort of stereotype.
Which grows right out of, that's all comic books did from World War II through. Like, really, Shang-Chi is early 70s
yeah.
when he shows up in the comic books. He's grounded in an entire history that is, blatantly racist and demeaning, where the only kind of good, heroic Asian character might have been somebody like Kato.
the
the Green
sidekick.
Hornet, who's a sidekick and completely subordinate to the white.
Yeah, though
protagonist.
despite being in many ways Green Hornet's superior in terms of his abilities, but he is always relegated to the sidekick role.
He designs all the stuff. In some ways,
Yeah.
it seems like he's a better fighter, and yet he's always just a valet and a chauffeur. Yeah. And then the 70s stuff that was meant to be inclusive was not really inclusive in a way that would make you celebrate it.
No. I mean, this, for both, I'm particularly thinking specifically about, Asian and Asian American characters. Like, they were steeped in, sort of yellow peril, or when it came to the female characters, sort of the dragon lady stereotype, which I was pleased to see this film avoid.
Yeah, it seemed to be paying attention to that. Because even post-70s stuff has a hard time getting Asian and Asian American characters out of the sort of the gravitational history that traps them.
Yeah.
So to me, you don't seem impressed by the fact, but to me it's a pretty remarkable thing that Americans are flocking to see this particular movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised. I was expecting, I mean, even as we were talking about with the numbers, like, there's a large segment of the movie-going, comic book moving populace that don't really like this kind of movie.
They're offended by this.
That they're
kind of
offended
movie.
by it, and so I was expecting sort of more of a reaction. There hasn't really been that kind of reaction to the film, at least as far as I've seen.
There does not seem to
in the way that there was with Black Panther or Captain Marvel or sort of the other films that have sort of been Marvel's efforts to diversify, you know, its sort of offerings.
Given what happened to Captain Marvel, I think is a really nice.
Yeah. I mean, like Captain Marvel's audience rating is like 43.
Yeah.
Like it's been pretty savagely bombed right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I was a little bit concerned because going into, I have to say, the trailers did not do a good job.
I agree with
that. Of selling kind of what this, like I watched the trailer, particularly the first trailer. The second trailer was a little bit better, but the first trailer, I was like, it feels. I was worried that this was going to be like the first sort of unsuccessful Marvel film, and then of course
the first sort of faltering.
Yeah, and then of course that would be, you know, problematic for it being, you know, starring the Chinese American, you know, hero and actor and things like that. So
yeah,
I'm very, because it's in like its third week at number one. I mean, obviously you have to take into account the pandemic, but it's at its third week at number one in the box office.
As you say, it seems to have legs.
Yeah, it's
I know you like to use that insider lingo.
I do, because I am such a Hollywood insider.
Yes, to make sure that listeners understand.
Yeah, that understand my bona fides.
Yes, because everybody loves good bona fides.
That's right. It's very important.
It could be. So where do you want to start about the film? That was my sort of broad observation, but we could actually talk about what happens inside the film if you want to.
We could, yeah. I mean, do we want to do our typical good, bad, other stuff, or did you have another approach in mind?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. You want to trade off the good for a while?
Sure.
Okay. I feel like you should go first because I just went. But I'm happy to go.
That's true. No, I mean, you know, I as with so many of the Marvel films, I thought the casting was well done. I was a little bit concerned with Awkwafina's character, again from the trailers, that I feared that it was going to feel like they had to have kind of the sidekick character, and she was going to feel sort of tacked on. But I didn't feel that way at all. I really liked the platonic relationship between Shang and her.
It's one of the things that really stood out to me, honestly, was that they didn't have to turn it into a romance.
Yeah.
I thought they were at first, because they meet the grandmother and it's like, oh,
that's really the only place where I think you see it gestured towards.
And I was like, that's the beginning of it. That's what's going to.
But in a way, they were
happen.
almost teasing the audience with that.
Yeah.
Like this is the expectation of what must be.
Yeah.
Because it is the classic, you know, they've been friends forever,
It is.
but they don't know they really love each other kind of setup. But that it doesn't pay off, I really liked. It was one of the things that made the movie a little bit different, and I think there are parts of this movie when we get to the bad that don't feel that different to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a nice twist, I thought. And I think it's quite amazing that Awkwafina is a leading lady in a Marvel film.
Yeah.
She would not fit sort of the stereotype that you would expect.
Yeah, well, and I don't think her character is really based on anything from the comics. I'm not aware of.
You would know better than me.
Katie as a character, so it seems like they've managed to bring. You know, it's not like Awkwafina's coming in and performing a role that people know and doing well.
Right.
You know, she's coming in and basically performing a completely new character that audiences don't really have any sort of attachment to.
Right. And
doing well.
Yeah. And she's just, in general, Awkwafina on screen is fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she's fun. And I like that she's inhabiting that role you're talking about, but not being kind of shoved into the cookie cutter kind of female lead that you're supposed to have in this.
Well, and I also feel, I mean, you know, she's obviously got like her sort of subplot of, I mean, they're both sort of directionless in their lives, and she does kind of have the subplot where it seems like by the end of it, she seems to feel like she needs more of a sense of direction. Yeah. And even sort of finds one sort of during the battle. But it didn't feel to me like a tacked on subplot. Like it felt like it didn't distract or pull away from the film.
And as she finds that direction, you know what I was thinking? Thank God the Marvel Universe finally has a competent archer.
You know, it took so long, but there's finally somebody who can actually shoot a bow and arrow and not be, useless.
Exactly. Like, she actually plays an important role in defeating the major villain. That it turns out, I should apologize to you, all these years when I've been making fun of Hawkeye and your love for Hawkeye, archers can matter. It's just not Hawkeye that can matter.
Yeah, it's him in particular.
So I apologize, Patrick. I feel
wow.
I've missed this with the podcast. I've missed this so much.
I'm just going to cherish that apology for so long. because it really
You can
just
listen
gets
to
me,
it again whenever you want to.
gets me right here. So I can't really respond.
Oh, the way you stepped into
Because
that one
any
though, it's just
response- yeah, did you
like
appreciate-
stepping
yeah,
into
yeah.
it was just.
That because I really can't talk about Hawkeye right now and not bring up the Hawkeye trailer for the Disney Plus show.
Yes, yeah,
And that'll get us sidetracked, which we need to do like a
which
whole
also
show
looks
on that.
promising because there's a new Hawkeye.
Potentially a better Hawkeye.
Oh, let's just say from the top, a better Hawkeye.
I mean, the bar's pretty low.
Right. Can you bury a bar? First you dig a ditch, then you put the bar in it.
Then you realize not low enough. Gotta
No,
keep digging.
first you dig a ditch, and then you put a bar in it, and then you put Quicksilver's body in it. And then you
See?
talk about how tired you are from digging that ditch.
Now you're in the spirit of things, my friend. Now.
Oh, it's been a long day. A lot of ditch digging.
That was a hard day's work.
Wish I had a ditch digging arrow. I would have sped this up.
Oh, that's good. So,
What were we talking?
any other observations on Aquafina?
Well, I do want to say the only thing
Because-
the one thing that I will say, I can also see the flip side of the platonic relationship because one of the things that has plagued particularly Asian American men in popular culture is a kind of desexualization. And so I can also kind of see the flip side of that as well does that I haven't seen any critiques of it.
Yeah, that's
But I do kind of wonder does that play into I mean obviously you've got the scenes of him in the Fight Club shirtless that sort of play against that.
Right.
But
Well,
yeah,
there-
it
right.
is
But
something
it's
like
also really short.
I really
But there's-
like it is.
But there's a sense of his hunkiness for sure.
Yeah.
Like you don't
Yeah.
leave this movie not realizing how hunky.
Yeah. So I kind of wonder about that too. Like I haven't seen that discussed yet, but I'm like I could see an argument being made that the platonic nature of the relationship might
And it really demonstrates the way in which you can't win making movies like this because taking Aquafina away from the hypersexualized Asian female kind of has this cascade consequence in a way of perhaps playing into the desexualized stereotype of the male.
Yeah.
I guess they can't win.
No,
it
it's
makes you feel bad for Disney.
I'm not sure I
it's
feel
so
bad.
bad for Disney.
I don't feel terrible for Disney. They're doing okay these days.
No, that's fair. But when you were talking about Aquafina kind of struggling to figure out who she was and kind of finding a path, I thought that Shang-Chi actually as a movie was really interesting as a study of kind of immigrant identity. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how, like, if you have any thoughts about that, because we're both teaching a class right now at Misericordia that's kind of focused on, two different classes, but they're focused on immigration, and you can't talk about immigration without talking about identity and American identity. Thoughts? The movie clearly leads with Sean also not knowing who he is. Both he and Katie are kind of drifting.
See, that's the thing. Is
valeting.
it makes it seem like he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
But he knows who he is.
But the way he's running from it makes him
yeah.
seem kind of
He is running from it.
drifting, and he's clearly wrestling with identity in that way.
Because that was one of the kind of
But
things. Because at first that was one of the kind of things I liked. Is that I was like, oh, so we as viewers are kind of plopped down in the middle of this in the same way that Shang is, and I'm like, well, no, because he does know who he is. He's just running.
You could argue
from
that
it.
he knows he doesn't want to be that, but that's it.
But to me, that's the immigrant identity. Like, it's a very teachable moment there.
Yeah.
If you think about the second generation immigrant experience, kind of writ large in the United States, you often see that second generation running from.
Well,
that
in
second
particular,
generation trying
running from what the first generation wants them to be.
Exactly.
Which you see in Shang and his father, and you also see with Aquafina and her family, that they clearly have expectations for what she should be doing.
The family scene sets that up really nicely, that there is this kind of this expectation that both Sean at this point and Katie should be moving on, but as they kind of wrestle with who they are and their place in society, like, it's more complicated than that. And so to me, it is this kind of, I almost would have liked to have seen more of the two of them before the reveal.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I do have a critique of the film, and I'm not sure there's a way around this, this film has to do a lot of work very quickly. Like, it's a very packed film. And there's a lot of stuff they have to move through very quickly. And so not everything gets kind of the chance to resonate as much as it might have, because there's just a lot. It's a packed film.
Which kind of leads to my point, the next point I wanted to make about American Identity. The beginning, the film's almost kind of making an argument against the model minority.
Yes.
The stereotype often deployed against Asian Americans, that they're all super high achievers. And, of course, it was created back in the 60s by conservatives who were using Japanese American success to attack the lack of African American success. So it's a fundamentally racist idea in its origins. And so the movie initially is kind of attacking that stereotype, but then it turns out he is Shang-Chi, and Katie is the best archer in the Marvel Universe. And so then they do kind of become
I wouldn't go that far. Her teacher
overachievers.
says she's okay.
She takes the dragon down by the throat.
Does she take the dragon down, or does she just create a wound for the dragon to be taken down?
She does as much with an arrow as you could do with an arrow.
And to be fair,
Without
she's
the arrow, we
shooting
don't
at a
win.
giant dragon, not a tiny target. It's a giant dragon.
But it's got to hit a very tiny, precise area.
Does
in
it,
the
or
dragon.
does it just have to hit
You
a
shoot
tiny
the dragon
spot?
in the tail, it does nothing.
I don't know. I feel like she's shooting a giant, like I could, if you put a giant dragon in front of me.
Don't finish the sentence.
I'm
'cause
pretty
we'll
sure
run
I could
away.
shoot it with an arrow.
I think we need to go out on the campus green, get you a bow and arrow,
No, get him a Nerf dot.
and see what you can do with it. Yeah, you're right. We should not have anything with sharp edges.
And we won't even do a dragon. I'll just get a wall.
Listen, get me a stick, a string, and a lawn dart, and I can do some damage. And not
What are you,
not
MacGyver?
not the rounded lawn darts, the ones that we had as kids.
You're talking
that
about
had
the
Oh
jarts.
yeah, the jarts. Yeah, those
Yeah.
things.
Well, yeah, but anybody
I can do some damage.
with
I
a
can
jart.
do some damage with that.
Yeah. Still, they're not in the Toy Hall of Fame, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
They can't be. They
So,
can't
yeah,
be. But
well,
anyway, I thought it was a
thinking
really
about-
interesting
yeah.
way of wrestling with identity.
Well, along the same lines. I mean, because
Yeah.
another way to look at it too, in addition to the model minority stereotype, another stereotype that was very present with Asian American characters in the comics, and Shang-Chi in particular, was that perpetual foreigner.
Yes.
The idea that they're always kind of out of place and out of sync with particularly America. And the opening section of the film shows them, that they're basically a part of the United States. That they're going to karaoke.
Yes.
I can't, I know that at one point they're singing Little Nas X, which we'll come back to that. Because that's my continuity nugget. But yeah, it does sort of overcome that perpetual foreigner idea that they are sort of a part of. I mean, if you think about the idea of, particularly Katie, if you think about the idea of, her distinguishing trait as her driving ability, and the fact that she knows how to navigate the streets of they're in San Francisco.
I believe so, yeah.
Kind of thinking about that idea of that some scholars have talked about as cognitive mapping, and kind of the ability to know where you are in space.
I'm sorry, I blanked a
zone
little
out?
bit when you started talking about cognitive mapping.
I don't know why.
It just made my eyes glaze.
I'm not referring to the first book on it, but a later,
a derivative.
Very derivative.
Yeah. Is it a book that reifies and flattens?
I don't know. It's not the Earth space of cognitive mapping.
There's so much inside baseball here that if people
is a
knew
lot.
it, they'd
don't
understand
know
how
what you're
funny
I don't know why
it
you're not
is.
thinking that people don't listen. That people who listen to us don't know this. They
Rich
should know
has
this stuff.
clearly
by now.
just said he's befuddled.
I have had to listen to every single one of these, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Gotten to. Well, that's just because you're not paying attention.
Had to.
You're too jacked up on amp to pay attention. So yeah, again,
Yeah,
it
no,
is
that's a
kind
good
of
point.
it's kind of interesting in the way that obviously in the opening of the film they're sort of seen as kind of staying in place, drifting, not having direction.
Yeah.
But the way in which that they I guess kind of seem like they're waiting for whatever it is. They're perfectly content with where they are, and not looking for something that doesn't appeal to them.
Yeah.
I think speaks into kind of that model. Another way the film challenges that model minority sort of idea.
Yeah, absolutely. To you.
Another thing that I really liked.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, all the Marvel films, particularly the male-centered films, they all have dad issues.
Yes.
I
But
really
not this one.
no, this one absolutely does. But I
no
like the
father
way
problems.
I felt this one sort of dug into Wen-Wu, the father, as a character, much more.
He's a more complicated
Yeah.
character, for sure.
Yeah, than kind of the one-note dads
Right.
That because there's ways in which the film does at moments create a kind of sympathy for him.
Yeah. Well, his grief is real.
Yeah. So I liked I liked that in terms of another way the film I think avoids being kind of yet another iteration of what we've seen in all the Marvel films is that it. I mean, obviously, yes, he does still have daddy issues, but we actually got the dad's not a cardboard cutout for
It's richer.
daddy issues. There was a depth to it, so I thought that was something that it did really well.
And one of the ways it did that leads to one of the things I liked about it was the choreography.
Oh yeah,
Like any good movie based around like a kung fu superhero should have that kind of choreography. And the way in which they choreographed his father and mother meeting each other
that was great
and falling in love with each other, the way in which the fight becomes a dance and the dance becomes a romance was I thought a really clever way to tell the story.
Yeah, well, and I think that I mean there was a lot of the film that was very visually stunning. I think that was maybe the first sort of visually stunning.
Yeah.
Or maybe the most visually stunning. I don't know if it was the first in the film, but it was the one that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Again, one of the places where you could kind of see the film making reference to things like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Right.
And
that's a
sort
throwback.
Of sort of making reference to other sort of the tradition of martial arts film.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I loved? Not most of all, but right at the top of my loves,
Trevor
Slattery.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, man,
Or what did you call him, Hank?
I called him Tony.
Tony?
Well, in my defense, Tony Slattery was a British actor on the original version of Whose Line It Is Anyway that was hilarious.
Such a good show.
Yeah.
I'd still go back and watch those reruns.
Yeah.
I love the Trevor Slattery stuff, though. He was written as ridiculously as he should be.
Always. Oh, Trevor is always ridiculous.
Yeah. And he doesn't undo the stuff that Iron Man 3 did. And one of my fears was always that they were going to undo what I thought was maybe the most radical thing that the Marvel Universe has ever said. Except besides maybe we can make a movie with an African-American or an Asian-American lead, which is kind of shocking.
Yeah.
But the critique of the military-industrial complex was so predicated upon him being ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is ridiculous, and now the 10 Rings can still be menacing, but they meant something different in the Iron Man trilogy, was just, like, the guy's way too funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I find interesting about the film, because this is a film that largely exists kind of in its own corner of the MCU right now.
Yeah.
It is weird when, like, in the beginning, like, when he kind of reveals that, like, he's descendants of all these powerful people, it's like, how can there's actually points where they can't believe it, like when he tells people, it's like, you're in a world in which how many supernatural, fantastical things, half the world disappeared. They mentioned the snap.
And yet, on the other hand, it's remarkable how blasé Awkwafina is, how Katie is when she finds out. He's like, I gotta go. And she's like, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
So in that way, like
she's more mad that he didn't tell her than I guess that it's the thing that exists.
Anything else you liked? Because we are almost at 40 minutes.
Well, I hadn't actually finished my previous point.
Okay.
So I was going to say,
blame Rich, not me.
I do, give it's in its own, but the film the part of the MCU that it is most connected to is Iron Man 3, which is one of the more controversial MCU films. Obviously, you and I both like the twist.
Love it.
I will say the one thing I was disappointed in is that, prior to going to see Shang-Chi, on Disney Plus, they were pushing the little short featuring Trevor. And then I saw that Ben Kingsley, the actor that plays him, was at the premiere, and I'm like, okay, so Trevor's obviously in this.
Yes.
So I kind of saw him coming.
Oh, so we kind of got. For me, it was a complete surprise.
Yeah.
No, when he showed up on screen, it was like Christmas morning for me.
Yeah. I knew. I'm like, clearly he's going to be in this at some point. So
yeah, and the fact that he's just living underground and putting on Shakespeare,
I do it. Yeah,
shows every once in a while. It's just.
Yeah, I guess like a one-man Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I want to say. It's his one-man Shakespeare.
But again, it's the old white guy.
Yeah.
That's the butt of the joke. It's the old white guy who's now the jester.
Yeah.
The old white guy who's ridiculous. There's a nice little message there.
Yeah.
I have one more thing I really like.
Okay.
Razor Fist was so dumb. The whole character was just so stupid. And how else do you do Razor Fist?
Wait. who was Razor Fist?
Did you watch the movie?
The guy with razors as his fists.
I didn't know he had a name.
He literally has a license plate on his car.
It says Razor
It says
Fist.
Razor
I thought
Fist.
that's what his car was called. I thought he just named his car that.
But of course Razor Fist would have a license plate in a car
Oh,
and
he
all
would.
the branding. To me, he and Slattery were so stupidly funny.
Yeah.
That they made it worth the price.
Well,
of
I mean,
admission.
Razor Fist is stupidly funny in a different way in that they play him straight, and his name's Razor Fist. He is
Right,
a ridiculous.
exactly.
He is a ridiculous villain.
Yes, and and they get it perfect. I think
They do. Yeah, the guy that I guess the guy that plays him is the same guy that plays Drago's son in Creed 2.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like again, that's the only way to play Razor Fist is as just completely straight. Because he's just a ridiculous concept.
Yeah. You either have to make him a complete cartoon or you got to play him as straight as you can.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit better in the film because, he can, go back and forth between, his razors in his hands.
Yeah.
In the comics, it's literally a dude who just has razors. And I'm like, that just seems awkward.
Like Mace, the old
Luke
Cage
except
villain.
Mace could take his off.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
But yeah, Razor Fist, it's one of those characters you're like, I need a character. I remember Mark Grunwald, the editor of Marvel.
Yeah.
Had his version of Stan Lee's soapbox.
Yeah.
And I remember one of them was, he's like, here's how you create a character. You take a word from column A and a word from column B, and you've got a character. And there's so many you can make. And Razor Fist is one of those guys. It's like, we came up with a name. We've got a really great name. His name's Razor Fist.
Wouldn't it be great if in those two columns, in the first column you had a Richard, in a second column you had a Baldwin?
Yeah. You know who needs to team up
Just
in the
lock
Marvel?
that into place.
Who needs to team up in the Marvel
Who's that?
MCU? Is Razor Fist and Taserface. Or Rocket needs to meet Razor Fist and basically make fun of his name.
Like, you have a brother?
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
So anything else you liked? Because we're now 40 minutes in.
I mean, I really like Simu Liu as Shang-Chi.
Terrific. I agree.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. I like the fact that it all kind of started when he tweeted Marvel years ago about, hey, are we going to talk about Shang-Chi? Mm-hmm. And then he ends up auditioning and ends up getting the role, which is pretty cool.
And the cast is deep and really good.
Yeah, it's a great cast. There's no one in the cast in the movie that I feel takes away from it at all.
Except for maybe the little Werfel or whatever it's called.
Morris?
Oh.
You didn't like Morris? How do you not like Morris?
We did an entire show.
Is it
'cause
called
he's kind of an
Killing
Ewok?
Cuteness. Do you remember?
Yeah, I know. You hate cute.
I don't like cute.
But Morris isn't cute. He's like a furry butt walking around.
He's so ugly, he's cute.
He's
Yeah.
a furry butt.
He's past the disgusting and he's back to cute.
You're hurting Morris's feelings, I think.
Well, I don't know.
I did, I can't remember names. But during the fight scene, when you see the guy from Doctor Strange just doing the... Wong, that's it. Just, I guess in his free time, he just does street fights.
Yeah, it is kind of... Yeah, I do kind of wonder, how did Wong end up there?
One
just
supposes
leaves afterwards.
we'll find out more eventually.
I like to
Yeah.
think, if you've seen the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, I like to
Yeah.
think when you see him leave after telling Doctor
where he's
Strange,
going, yeah.
that's where he's going. He's got his bag packed. He's going to go do some
I've
Fight
heard people
Club.
speculating that's where he's going. So
Yeah,
maybe.
but I'm like, that's... But I know that's going to be something you hate.
Probably.
Yeah, Wong and even more so Abomination. Because it's all just Easter egg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very that's
know-
a moment where the film is, I guess, trying maybe the best argument it can make is to build a connection to the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
it
guess
mostly
'cause
feels
doesn't
Easter
have too
eggy.
many.
Well, because it's so random in that it's Wong fighting Abomination.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
apparently they're in on it, too. They're not even, enemies.
Yeah, they're clearly friends. Cause, yeah,
They're
it's
basically fixing the fight.
yeah, it's a really weird. I'm like, I don't except that the Abomination sort of continues the trend we're seeing of kind of airsats / dark versions of Avengers popping up because you've got U.S. Agent,
Yeah.
you've got Yelena as Black Widow, and
Yeah.
now we've got a Hulk.
Interesting.
So I'm like, and Abomination is going to be in the She-Hulk series, so this is not like the only time we're going to see
And
him.
maybe a Dark Avengers is coming.
There's been rumors of Dark Avengers for a while, so but it seems like yeah, you've basically got kind of dark versions of
Yeah.
original Avengers running around. So
Yeah. We do.
So since we've already brought up the Easter eggs that you hate,
Yes.
should we move on to the bad?
Yes. So I'll start the bad with something good. I don't have a deep list of bad, but I do have a couple of points.
Yes, I don't have a deep list of bad.
Vicky and I both left the theater really liking the movie.
Oh, okay.
It felt refreshing. And it was better than Black Widow, which I don't think I liked as much as you did.
I enjoyed Black Widow, but
I thought Black Widow was fine.
Well, we should do a show on that.
I thought it was kind of a paint by numbers, and I felt like, to spoil the show if we ever do it, I felt like that film didn't really trust the female leads as much as it might have. That the film could have much more focused on Natasha and Yelena and their relationship, and I felt like it leaned a little heavy on the parents.
Okay.
And the comedy that came from the parents, and it missed an opportunity to do something more unique by presenting us kind of the normal. I hear you. I wrote in my notes, I mean it, Patrick, even if you disagree. It's just true.
What is? Oh, what you just said?
Black Widow was just okay.
Well, I mean, again, it's. I enjoyed it. I thought the action scenes were really good, but the film is hemmed in by the fact that it can't really do anything
because Hawkeye's killed Black Widow.
Because Black Widow sacrificed herself.
Yeah.
So that Hawkeye could have a Disney Plus series.
Yes,
at Christmas
seems fair.
And Patrick's,
how that guy lives with himself, I'll never understand.
But it is kind of hemmed in.
But this movie it's like a really good, solid action adventure.
Yes.
The special effects, the choreography, all good. But it's not the most original story. As you mentioned, the daddy issues.
There are elements of it fitting into
that
kind
origin.
of the Marvel. Yeah. It's got a lot of your typical Marvel origin. Even in the way that in fighting his dad, he is sort of fighting an evil version of himself.
Yeah, and I feel as if you have raised that point before, and I was kind of like, it doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
They are starting to pile up now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed Shang-Chi, but there is part of me, and I remember when we talked about Civil War, I was kind of like, Civil War's really good, but that's like par for Marvel now.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of the same way. I really liked Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
It's a good film. I enjoyed the heck out of it, but I don't know that it does anything radical with the MCU.
We've often talked about the ways in which Marvel has tried to use genre to distinguish the different franchises so that they're not all completely homogenous.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure the genre here overcame the standard origin story.
Well, but I think the issue, because this is something that I had in my notes, I think the issue is that the genre this film is taking place in, and I've seen articles talking about this, is it's really steeped in martial arts films.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you, particularly visually, unless you know those films, I don't think you see that as clearly.
Yeah, but even I've watched enough martial arts films to understand some of what was happening in that way. It still felt like the origin felt heavy to me.
Yeah.
And maybe it had to be because they were building that more nuanced father. But so for me, and I don't know how you get around it. I'd like to see Marvel try to do something where the origin is just like a 2-minute comic book.
Yeah.
At the beginning, and then you go to the credits.
Well,
and then
or you do what you've
story.
done with the Spider-Man films, which is basically acknowledge everyone knows Spider-Man's origin.
Right.
We don't need to talk about it. We can just move on.
Right.
Yeah. Uncle Ben's already dead.
Right.
Almost what you wish they would do that with the Batman movies. So
Same thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Same thing. We don't need. I don't need to see the Wayne's shot yet again.
You can't do that for Shang-Chi in the same way
can't.
because people don't know his story.
Yeah.
Batman and Spider-Man, for God's sake, could we please?
Yeah, I mean that's the issue is that you for Shang-Chi you still have to do
Agreed.
the origin, because the only way you can shortcut the origin of Shang-Chi is to play into really problematic stereotypes.
Agreed.
That's the thing too, is they have to change so much about it.
Yeah.
As well.
So maybe it's a problem you can't solve, but it's still a problem, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's kind of along the same lines, because in the original Shang-Chi origin comic, they show him committing the assassination that his father wants.
Right.
And I was kind of curious what they were going to do with that. And so, when they made it first seem like he didn't just do it, I was like, oh, that's how we're dodging that. Okay, it's a PG-13 film, I can understand.
Yeah.
But then they brought it back as he actually did do the assassination.
Right.
And I was sort of like, And it didn't quite have enough room to breathe. Like, that was
Right.
one of the moments that I was like, it felt a little crammed in because of
There's a lot-
everything they have to
A
do.
lot in there. Yeah. Any other complaints from you?
Well, not a complaint, but a continuity nugget question.
Oh, boy.
You're going to like this one.
No, I don't think we will.
I feel like this because it really raises some questions about what has gone on in the MCU,
Okay.
post-snap.
Okay.
Because when they're singing karaoke,
Yes.
they're singing Old Town Road by Lil Nas X,
Okay.
which was released in 2018 but didn't really become popular until 2019,
Okay.
which would be during the blip.
Okay.
Yet in 2023, when this film has to be set, because that's when everyone comes back,
Yeah.
Lil Nas X's Old Town Road is popular enough to be on a karaoke song, which
I mean,
means...
that's not.
Couldn't he have
karaoke.
been popular during the blip?
But also,
Do you remember Endgame and how dour and gray things were?
It's not like they weren't making
During
music.
but
though.
that's
They
the
didn't
question:
just quit
is
making
apparently
music.
number one, Lil Nas X was not part of the snap
Yes. Okay.
and still had success with Old Town Road
This doesn't seem
during the blip.
but
This doesn't seem as
karaoke
revelatory
has-
to
yeah,
me
they
as
have
you've
the-
I don't know. It just seems like, well, number one, it just proves that we know Lil Nas X was not blipped,
okay. Yes.
which seems like an important point.
Thank God.
But
It also
obviously,
does raise the question of I'm not.
so you think they only listened to really sad music for 4 years?
Did you see
just
anything?
funeral dirges.
Did you see anything? Keep in mind, Endgame,
And
when we
Beethoven.
see it, is at 5 years, and there's still, like, the Mets aren't playing, there's no baseball.
Mets.
Yeah, but
Like, there's nothing happening.
No,
But Old Town Road,
I
that's
hear
still,
what you're saying, but I think this is an easy no prize to
Yeah.
win.
I like the Nose Prize reference.
Thank you. that not everybody felt that way.
Yeah.
That Cap was in a bad place, so we're going to kind of see that. All the Avengers were in a really bad place, but there must have been people who benefited
I'm
from
pretty
the
sure
blip.
Hawkeye listened to Old Town Road while he was killing all those people as Ronin.
But
Yeah.
But if you think
Luke.
about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there were people who benefited from the blip. Right? The blip did open up opportunities for people.
such as...
More work, more land, more opportunity.
Mm.
So maybe they were the ones, listening to the upbeat music.
I don't know.
I just feel like
I just found it interesting.
that you think the entire world was that gray.
It seemed very
Well,
gray during Endgame.
It
Yeah.
did. I'll admit, visually, it was gray during that one point.
It was
Yes,
very
but,
gray.
but only in one place. The sun was
Very gray
probably
and
shining
dour.
in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Maybe he was big in Des Moines.
Man.
I feel like I let you down.
Just a
I
little
feel like you
continuity
didn't
nugget.
get the response.
No, it's fine. You just pooped all over my nugget.
I'm sorry you thought, you'd crack the code.
I just thought it was something. I just thought it was kind of amusing, but whatever.
So I have a question for you, and then one last complaint.
Okay.
So how'd you feel about how close it was to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them? Like when you went into that world. Like it felt very reminiscent.
Oh, I
of
hadn't
that
thought about that.
movie to me. Was it too close?
Oh, because especially when they get near the end and the
Yeah, when you get to all the animals and the
I hadn't really thought. See, my concern
not
about
a problem
that.
then. You pooped on my nugget, sir.
Well, they also spent less time with the animals.
No, my concern with that was that's another place where they veer a little bit more into potential stereotypes in terms of
Yes.
kind of I'm forgetting the name of the village. Tao Lo, is that what it was?
So like the fantastical East.
Yeah,
Of,
that it kind
like,
of
the Western
veers into kind of very
imagination.
fantastical, quasi-Orientalist, and
Yes. Yeah.
it's basically him. I mean, that's the him riding a giant dragon.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are, particularly given the teaser at the end about like the rings are sending out a signal. In the
Yeah.
comics, the rings come from the same race as Fin Fang Foom, the giant classic dragon.
Oh boy.
And so that's a lot of people's theory. I'm like, yeah, I don't think we need Shang-Chi fighting another dragon.
I'd like to see it not a dragon next time.
Yeah, like no dragons.
Speaking of which, that's my biggest complaint with this movie.
Dragons?
No. The
Not
fight
enough
with the
dragons?
dragon at the end.
The Dweller in Darkness?
No, the fight with the dragon at the end drags on way too long.
It does, and I was
Well,
I
Marvel can't get this straight. Like it's every time.
Yeah,
now.
I agree with it. The other thing too is I'm like literally watching. I'm like, wow, both literally and figuratively, Shang-Chi is along for the ride in the big climax
Yeah, I
of the
was
movie.
expecting
Like
Shang-Chi
he's
to
just
fight his
riding the
father a
dragon.
lot
Yeah,
more.
like it was. Yeah. I was a little bit. I was like,
And it
yeah,
just-
they're. Again, it's the big CGI battle.
Oh, they're winning, and fortunes have reversed. They've got no chance.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. We finally found a good archer, and everything's turned, around.
I might vary my reading of the ending a little bit there, but yeah, it does. Again, it does another way that it does fall into a little bit of the Marvel cookie cutter mold.
Yeah, it's too long. Like,
is the end.
I would rather them let the father-son relationship breathe more.
Yeah.
All the stuff that you're talking about feels too tight.
Yeah.
In the movie. If you just condense that final fight scene and you let the other, I think it's a better movie.
Yeah. Also, Dweller in Darkness is a pretty deep cut when you're looking for Marvel villains.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He's a Doctor Strange villain.
Still,
Dweller in Darkness, the big bad of the film that's fighting the dragon.
Yeah.
Dweller in Darkness. That's what they call him in the film. He's the Dweller in
I have
Darkness.
no idea who that is, though.
He's only appeared a handful of times.
Okay.
But he's a demon spawn that feeds on fear.
Yeah, of course.
Not souls.
And soul. Oh yeah.
Not in the comic. He's just fear. Yeah.
I guess they couldn't figure. How do you visualize fear?
Yeah.
It's like, we'll just do souls.
So as we're approaching the hour mark,
Yes.
I feel like we've had a really successful debut episode for season 6.
Yes.
I can't believe you haven't mentioned that it's season 6. We haven't argued about seasons.
You asked me at the beginning of the show what season is it, and I said season
That was
6.
that was the
pre-show.
pre-show.
Oh, for God's sake!
The pre-show is not
How
canon.
do I keep track of
The
what's
o-
pre-show when you're recording everything for 20
Because
minutes
he
before we
counts
start?
down
Can't.
3, 2,
And you
1, and
never
then
will.
there it is. So you in the actual show, you've not talked about it being season
6
at all.
And I'll cut it out of the pre-show so nobody knows.
It's season 6, baby.
Yeah, I thought you'd be really
6th season.
way more amped up about
is
that.
this when we bring in Cousin Oliver?
Are we that desperate?
No, I don't know.
Is that a reference to what?
Well, when you get desperate, you bring in a little kid.
Yeah.
Oh.
That doesn't really fit organically with the rest of the show.
Does I don't know if Rich has that quality of childlikeness
Yeah, that's true.
that would save the show?
I don't think so.
Is he more of a Chachi?
Yes. Yeah, and we all know how Chachi ended up
Mm-hmm.
at the 2016 Republican
Yeah,
National
I just- yeah,
Convention.
yeah.
It's the biggest celebrity that Trump could find. So. Which is too
That'll
bad
be his
because
history.
I've been rewatching Arrested Development,
Oh, Bob Loblaw.
and the Bob Loblaw his law blog is like
Bob
it's-
Loblaw's Loblog.
It's such a funny moment, and yet now that it's him,
Yeah, it ruins it for
like
it.
it's
yeah.
just it's ruined. Like I can separate the artist from the person in a lot of situations, but with Chachi,
Yeah,
no chance.
no chance.
I can't see him in anything and feel anything but rage.
Yeah.
Just rage. How did we get to see from season 6 to Chachi?
I don't know. Someone brought up Cousin Oliver, and I
Yeah,
think
that
that's
was
what,
a deep cut.
that's what got us there. Yeah, but it's season 6.
You fought tooth and nail for seasons.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
And then, just like everything else, it was beaten out of me by relentless torment.
No,
Don't do numbers anymore. I have to call them fun facts.
We can't use Rich's veto anymore because somebody had a big old pouty fit about it.
I did that one time. You've beaten
It only has to
everything out of me.
It only has to happen one time.
You lost one thing. I've lost everything.
Oh, I've
But
lost
I
a
wanted
lot
the
of
thing
things.
so much more.
But anyway, happy season 6.
Yes, happy season 6.
I'm sure Rich brought gifts to start the season.
Tic Tacs for
Well, the traditional fifth anniversary gift is wood.
Wood.
And if I could have figured,
sitting in wood right
if
now,
I could have
sir.
figured out a way to bring all of the twigs and sticks from my shed,
Oh, that would have been great.
without you finding out. But there's no way because you rode in with me, and I'm like, I'd have to carry them.
You should have put them in the trunk.
No, you should just put him in the trunk and dropped him at my house on the way back, and then we'd have a big bonfire.
Oh yeah,
We need the kindling.
I didn't do that. But yeah, I've got a ton of sticks for you.
So you had a great gift.
I do.
You just didn't execute it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did you get me?
Season 6. I've acknowledged the existence of seasons. I would think this would
Joyfully,
be
I might
the
add.
greatest gift I
mean-
could give.
I'm giving you a whole bunch of sticks. You gave me one acknowledgement of things.
It's the thing you've most wanted for 5 years. For 5 years.
Now you know how my veto feels like. Just
Season
have
6,
something you
baby.
want and taken away.
I'm just going to point out this is the show that you wanted to be the more professional one.
I thought we did a good job today. No?
Oh, you know what sticks?
Yeah.
Oh, the sticks part. Yeah.
The sticks part, the first 20 minutes.
But remember how how good we are at sticking the landing?
Oh, God.
That's what we're doing.
Oh,
We've literally just stick to the landing.
Oh, why couldn't we have beaten the puns out of you at the end?
Should I start recording now?
Yeah, what the hell.